Something is brewing at Ibrox, and it's not just the usual transfer whispers or tactical debates. This time, it's Nicholas Raskin who's turned up the heat. A player who once seemed untouchable in the eyes of the Rangers faithful now finds himself at the center of a drama that's casting long shadows over the blue half of Glasgow. The Belgian midfielder, known for his bite in midfield and passion for the badge, has spoken out, and his words have sent a shiver down the spine of every Rangers supporter. After being left out of the matchday squad against Celtic in that tense goalless draw, and then made to train away from the first team, Raskin finally broke his silence. He didn't point fingers, he didn't lash out, but what he did say was enough to ignite speculation about his future. "My situation at the club is a bit complicated," he admitted after scoring his first international goal in Belgium's 6-0 rout over Kazakhstan. It wasn't just a throwaway comment. It came from a player who clearly feels the weight of expectation and who still believes he has a role to play, not just in Glasgow, but also in Belgium's plans for the upcoming World Cup. He's made it crystal clear, leaving Rangers isn't on the table. At least, not yet. A transfer? No, that's out of the question, Raskin stated, reaffirming his love for the club and his connection with the fans. And anyone who's watched him at Ibrox knows that this isn't empty talk. The guy bleeds blue. But he's also at a point in his career where sitting on the sidelines isn't an option. He wants to play. He needs to play. And that means resolving this rift with Russell Martin before it spirals out of control. And here's where things get even more tense. Because while Raskin is trying to patch things up and fight for his place, the rest of the squad is dealing with its own set of issues. The start of the season has been rocky, to say the least. Defensive frailty, inconsistent performances, and now question marks over key players. The pressure is stacking up, and fast. Let's talk about another name that's had people talking, Oliver Ant-Man. The Finnish winger arrived at Rangers with a fair bit of hype, having cost the club around £3.5 million from Go-Ahead Eagles in the Netherlands. He hit the ground running, no doubt about that. 2 assists on his debut in a comfortable win over Victoria Plzen in the Champions League qualifiers. It looked like the start of something exciting. But since then, 6 games without a goal. Now, that doesn't mean the kid's a flop. Far from it. His former coach at FC Nordjylland, Flemming Pedersen, has been quick to defend him and offer some insight into how Ant-Man operates. Apparently, he's not the type to just follow orders blindly. He's a thinker, someone who sees the game differently, and who isn't afraid to challenge the coaches if something doesn't make sense to him. That kind of attitude can go one of 2 ways. On the one hand, it shows intelligence, confidence, and leadership. On the other, it can lead to friction if the coaching staff isn't open to being challenged. Peterson said it best: to get the best out of Oliver, you need to get into his head. You need to understand how he sees the game and work with him, not against him. That could be the key to unlocking his full potential. Because the raw talent is there. We saw glimpses of it in Denmark. We saw it, briefly, in his Rangers debut. But now, it's up to Russell Martin and his team to nurture it, manage it, and turn Ant-Man into a consistent threat. But let's be honest, that's not going to be easy in a squad that's still trying to figure itself out. Especially at the back. The Rangers' defense has looked anything but solid, and it's been a major talking point since the start of the campaign. One of the more controversial figures in that setup is Jurkan Giga, the young center-back on loan from Wolves. Big money was spent to bring him to England from Red Star Belgrade, and expectations were high when he arrived in Glasgow. But things haven't exactly gone according to plan. His performances in the Champions League playoff against Club Brugge were nothing short of disastrous. 9 goals conceded across 2 legs, and Giga was at the heart of it. You could see the confidence drain from the backline every time Brugge came forward. It wasn't just one bad game. It was a pattern, and one that Rangers fans picked up on quickly. Now, with the arrival of Derek Cornelius, there's real talk of a reshuffle in defense. Cornelius brings something Giga doesn't: experience. At 27, the Canadian has faced top-level opponents, including Lionel Messi at the last Copa America. He's not just a solid defender. He's comfortable with the ball at his feet, a trait that attracted attention from clubs like Marseille and even caught the eye of Roberto De Zerbi last summer. If Martin is serious about fixing the leaks in his defense, Cornelius could be the answer. Pairing him with someone like John Souter, who's been forced to cover awkward positions because of the current setup, could bring much-needed balance to the back four. Souter playing on the left has never looked natural. He's a right-sided center back, and being shunted out of position has clearly affected his form. It's not just about tactics, it's about confidence. It's about chemistry. And right now, that chemistry is missing. Martin has to act fast. Because every point dropped, every goal conceded, pushes this team further away from where it wants to be, and puts more heat on a manager who's already feeling the pressure. And speaking of exits, one player who's now officially moved on is Cyril Dessers. The Nigerian striker has left Ibrox for Panathinaikos after scoring 52 goals in 116 appearances. Say what you will about his finishing, but his numbers speak for themselves. His departure leaves a gap, no doubt, but it also raises questions about the long-term direction of this squad. Dessers wasn't a perfect player, but he brought a physical presence and work rate that won't be easy to replace. He's now focusing on his international career, dreaming of playing in the Africa Cup of Nations and the World Cup with Nigeria. He's got 3 goals and 8 caps so far, and at 29, he knows the clock is ticking. Back at Rangers, though, it's not dreams, it's reality. And that reality is a dressing room full of questions. Can Raskin mend fences and reclaim his spot in the team? Will Ant-Man settle in and find the net consistently? Is Cornelius the fix for a shaky defense? Russell Martin doesn't have time to wait for answers. The fans are restless, the media spotlight is intense, and every decision he makes is being scrutinized. The next few weeks could define his tenure. Take the Nicholas Raskin situation, for example. His recent statement, emotional, measured, and honest, didn't just come out of nowhere. It came after weeks of tension, missed opportunities, and growing frustration. This isn't some player pouting over a substitution. This is a player who genuinely feels sidelined, and not just physically, but mentally and emotionally from the group. And if someone like Raskin, who's known for his intensity and connection with the fans, is feeling that way, it says a lot about the atmosphere inside the club right now. Russell Martin has a huge job on his hands. He walked into Ibrox with a reputation for progressive football, tactical flexibility, and a calm, modern approach to management. But all of that is just theory until you can show it week in, week out, under the pressure that comes with managing Rangers Football Club. Supporters don't care about fancy diagrams or promising training sessions. They want results. They want identity. And above all, they want fight. So when players like Raskin, who, let's not forget, are the heartbeat of this team when they're at their best, are publicly speaking about complicated situations, it puts Martin in a tough spot. Does he double down on his authority? Or does he extend an olive branch and try to bring key players back into the fold? There's no perfect answer, but one thing is for sure. A fractured dressing room never wins titles. And then there's the challenge of integrating new signings, like Ant-Man and Giga, while still keeping the core of the team unified and firing. That's not easy, especially when results aren't going your way. Ant-Man, for all his flair and talent, is still adapting. He's not just adjusting to Scottish football, which is a beast of its own. He's adjusting to life in a fishbowl, where every touch is analyzed, every missed chance becomes a headline, and every smile or frown is turned into a story. We've seen talented players come to Glasgow and struggle with the intensity of the spotlight. It's not for everyone. But Ant-Man's character, if his former coaches are to be believed, suggests he's not afraid of pressure. He's the type to challenge authority, to ask questions, to want to understand the why behind every decision. That can be a gift for a manager who's open-minded, but a nightmare for one who demands blind loyalty. If Martin wants to make this work, he'll need to strike a delicate balance. Be firm, yes, but also listen. Because if he manages to harness that spark inside Ant-Man, he could have a real asset on his hands. The kind of winger that can unlock defenses, shift momentum, and get fans off their seats. That's what Rangers need, players who change games. Not just fill shirts. But then we come back to the defense. It's impossible to ignore just how fragile Rangers have looked at the back. 17 goals conceded across competitions already, and it's only September. For a club chasing titles and European progression, that's unacceptable. Giga was brought in to be part of the solution. So far, he's only added to the problem. The physical attributes are there. He's quick, tall, aggressive, but the decision-making has been erratic. Against Club Brugge, it was almost painful to watch. Positioning errors, lapses in communication, a general lack of composure. The kind of mistakes that get punished at this level. Now with Cornelius in the squad, there's real competition for places, and for Martin, real pressure to make the right calls. You don't bring in a seasoned international defender in his prime and stick him on the bench. Cornelius has come to play, and with a World Cup on the horizon, he'll want every minute he can get. He's calm on the ball, reads the game well, and offers leadership, something this backline desperately needs. If Martin pairs him with a fit and natural John Souter, there's potential for a much stronger central partnership. One that doesn't just plug the gaps, but gives the midfield more confidence to push forward, knowing the house is in order behind them. The issue, of course, is time. There's no preseason luxury now. No trial and error buffer. Every game is critical. Every dropped point makes the mountain steeper. And supporters, as always, aren't in the mood for long-term projects. They want wins. They want progress. Just look at the reaction to Desser's departure. A striker who scored over 50 goals in his time at the club, but still split opinion every week. Some fans felt he didn't do enough, missed too many chances, lacked that killer instinct. Others appreciated his work rate, his movement, his physicality. Either way, he's gone now. And the club has to replace not just his goals, but his presence. His ability to stretch defenses, link up play, create space for others. That's not an easy task, especially when the forward options currently in the squad are still finding their rhythm. And with Rangers juggling domestic and European commitments, squad depth and rotation are going to be more important than ever. It's also worth pointing out just how big this upcoming match against Hearts is. Tynecastle might not be the venue this time. It's at home, but Hearts are flying. Confident, organized, and ruthless in front of goal. The kind of side that smells blood and takes full advantage of a team lacking stability. Martin needs a response, not just in the scoreline, but in the performance. Rangers need to look like Rangers again. Controlled, aggressive, united. Because right now, that identity is missing. And when identity goes, belief often follows. And belief is everything in football. It's what drives comebacks. It's what lifts players to run that extra mile. Chase that lost cause. Press that bit harder. When fans believe, players believe. When players believe, anything is possible. But when that belief is fractured, like it seems to be right now, the entire structure starts to wobble. From the boardroom to the bench to the pitch. It's not too late to fix it. Not by a long shot. But it's going to take clarity, courage, and above all, decisions. Real decisions. That means picking a defensive pairing and sticking with it. That means deciding if Raskin is part of the plan, and if so, reintegrating him properly. Not halfway, not in limbo. It means building around the players who actually influence games. Who care? The time for experiments is over. Rangers don't have the luxury of waiting for everything to click. They need to make it click. Now. Because the next few games aren't just about 3 points. They're about momentum, about morale, about whether this project under Russell Martin is going anywhere, or if it's just another false dawn in a club that's had far too many of those. This squad isn't short on talent. What it's short on is certainty. And until that changes, every result, every press conference, every team selection will feel like a referendum. That's not sustainable. Martin needs to take back control of the narrative. The only way to do that is on the pitch. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to get all the exclusive news about Rangers FC. Don't overlook any details about your beloved team. It's crucial for Rangers FC fans. There's a buzz swirling through both London and Glasgow this week, and it's one that could shake up the landscape of British football. Whispers coming out of Stamford Bridge suggest that Chelsea have quietly agreed to let one of their brightest academy prospects, a 17-year-old English wonderkid, make the move north to Rangers. While the details remain wrapped in speculation, the excitement around Ibrox is already electric. Supporters and pundits alike are calling this teenager the next jewel of English football, a player whose potential could light up the Scottish Premiership. The timing has only fueled the rumors. Chelsea, well known for stockpiling young talent, appear to be trimming the edges of their vast academy to allow certain players a clearer path to senior football. The boy in question, though still largely unknown to the wider public, is said to have impressed scouts with his technical ability, composure beyond his years, and an instinct for the game that has drawn flattering comparisons to past England internationals. At Rangers, there's a growing sense that this could be the coup of the season. The Glaswegian Giants have long been eager to attract youthful flair capable of energizing their attack and lifting them above domestic rivals. The arrival of a player carrying Chelsea's seal of approval, however unofficial, adds a certain glamour to the deal. Rumors suggest that the coaching staff see him not just as a squad addition, but as a potential starter within months. Of course, the move also carries intrigue south of the border. Why would Chelsea let go of someone dubbed a future star? Some insiders hint that the club believes Rangers can offer more first-team minutes and the pressure cooker environment of Old Firm derbies, an experience no training ground in Cobham can replicate. Others suggest it's a carefully planned loan disguised as a permanent transfer, designed to test the youngster's mettle in front of some of the most passionate crowds in Europe. Nothing official has been confirmed, but in pubs from Glasgow's West End to Chelsea's King's Road, the chatter is getting louder. A 17-year-old prodigy swapping the blue of London for the blue of Ibrox? If the whispers prove true, Rangers fans could be about to witness the start of something very special indeed. Greetings, fans. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, as it's greatly appreciated by Rangers FC. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments section below. Until the next video, stay tuned.